Have you ever paused in the midst of a chaotic day and wondered if the universe, or perhaps your own mind, might be subtly responding to the whispers of your thoughts? Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean where each wave represents a fleeting idea or emotion crashing into your reality. What if, by learning to navigate these waves intentionally, you could influence the tide of your experiences? This intriguing question has fascinated philosophers, psychologists, and spiritual thinkers for centuries, blending the realms of science and introspection. In this exploration, we'll delve into concepts inspired by ideas like communicating with the cosmos through energy and awareness, drawing from a balanced mix of historical contexts, academic insights, and practical reflections. We'll unpack these notions step by step in respectful nod to diverse beliefs while grounding our discussion in evidence based perspectives. Whether you're skeptical or curious, join me as we uncover how directing your inner focus might shape a more harmonious life. Let's begin by examining the foundational idea of paying attention to your attention, a concept that echoes through both ancient wisdom and modern psychology. At its core, this suggests that what we focus on expands in our experience, much like how a gardener nurtures selected plants while allowing weeds to wither. Historically, this aligns with the New Thought movement of the late 19th century, which emerged in the United States amid a cultural shift toward self improvement and spiritual exploration. Pioneered by figures like Phineas Parkhurst Quimby in the 1830s, New Thought emphasized the power of the mind to influence reality, proposing that thoughts act as seeds in the soil of existence. Quimby's work, influenced by mesmerism and early psychology, laid the groundwork for later ideas such as those in William Walker Atkinson's 1906 book, Thought Vibration, or The Law of Attraction in the Thought World, where mental energy is seen as a directive force. From a contemporary academic lens, this resonates with mindfulness practices, which have been rigorously studied for their impact on attention. For instance, a review of longitudinal studies published in the Journal of Cognitive Enhancement found that mindfulness training enhances various components of attention, such as sustained focus and selective awareness, by rewiring neural pathways in the brain. In my view, this isn't about wielding mystical control, but rather cultivating a practical skill. By consciously choosing where to direct mental energy, individuals can reduce the amplification of stressors. Consider a real-world example from everyday life. A student overwhelmed by exam anxiety. If they fixate on potential failure, it might heighten their distress, but shifting attention to preparation steps could foster calm productivity. This approach draws from cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT principles, where reframing attention helps break negative cycles, offering a neutral tool accessible to anyone, regardless of spiritual inclinations. Moving deeper, we encounter the principle of thinking and speaking in the present tense, which posits that framing desires as already realized can align one's mindset with positive outcomes. This idea has roots in the early 20th century evolution of New Thought, where authors like Atkinson expanded on the notion that the mind operates in an eternal now, free from the constraints of past regrets or future worries. Philosophically, it parallels Eastern traditions, such as Zen Buddhism's emphasis on the present moment, though we'll approach this respectfully without endorsing any specific doctrine. In positive psychology, pioneered by Martin Seligman in the late 1990s, living in the present is linked to greater well-being. Studies, such as those from PositivePsychology.com, highlight how present moment awareness combats anxiety by grounding individuals in immediate experiences rather than hypothetical scenarios. A 2017 study in Emotion Journal further explored how dispositional mindfulness, being attuned to the now, predicts higher daily positive emotions, suggesting that this practice isn't mere wishful thinking, but a cognitive strategy for emotional regulation. Personally, I see this as a form of mental rehearsal, akin to athletes visualizing success before a game. For illustration, think of a historical figure like Thomas Edison, who reportedly maintained an unwavering focus on his inventions as if they were inevitable, persisting through thousands of failures. While not directly tied to these concepts, his story exemplifies how present tense mindset, treating goals as current realities, can sustain motivation. In a neutral analysis, this technique may work by activating the brain's reward centers, as evidenced by neuroimaging studies showing increased dopamine release during positive visualization. However, it's important to note limitations. For those with deep seated trauma, this might require professional support to avoid superficial bypassing of emotions. Expanding consciousness represents another layer, akin to broadening one's perceptual horizon to navigate life's complexities more adeptly. This concept can be traced back to the philosophical underpinnings of the New Thought movement, which drew from Hermetic teachings and transcendentalism, viewing awareness as a key to mastering existence. In the mid 20th century, self help literature repackaged these ideas, emphasizing personal growth amid post war optimism. From an academic standpoint, this aligns with Carl Jung's theories on the collective unconscious, where expanding awareness involves integrating shadow aspects of the self for wholeness, though Jung's work is interpretive rather than prescriptive. Modern neuroscience supports this through studies on neuroplasticity, showing how practices like meditation can increase gray matter in brain regions associated with self-awareness and empathy. A 2020 Nature study on focused attention meditation demonstrated changes in brain boundaries and configuration, enhancing cognitive flexibility. In my balanced opinion, this isn't about achieving enlightenment, but building resilience. It's like upgrading from a narrow lens to a wide-angle view in photography, capturing more variables for informed decisions. A compelling story comes from Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, where, in Nazi concentration camps, he expanded his inner awareness to find purpose amid suffering, illustrating how consciousness expansion can foster agency. Today, educational programs incorporating mindfulness report improved academic performance, as a Frontiers in Education study linked it to better attention and working memory in students. This underscores a practical, evidence-based application, respecting that such growth varies by individual context and cultural background. Next, listening to your guidance system, often described as intuitive feelings or gut responses, serves as an internal compass. This draws from the idea that energy and resonance guide choices, with historical echoes in ancient philosophies like Stoicism, where Epictetus advised discerning what aligns with one's true nature. In neuroscience, the gut-brain axis explains this biologically. Bidirectional signals between the intestines and brain influence emotions and decisions, as detailed in a 2011 Nature Reviews Neuroscience article. Research from UNSW Sydney psychologists describes intuition as the brain's rapid processing of unconscious information, often manifesting as visceral sensations. A 2024 Psychology Today piece roots this in emotional brain surges involving the amygdala and insula, highlighting its role in emotional intelligence. From my perspective, this is a neutral evolutionary tool honed for survival rather than a supernatural gift. For example, consider a business executive who ignores a bad vibe about a deal, only to face regrets. Studies on implicit learning, like those by Lieberman, show intuition as a byproduct of pattern recognition. In practice, journaling resonant experiences can refine this skill, blending self-reflection with scientific validation from cognitive neuroscience. Finally, harnessing repetition through affirmations taps into the subconscious as a repository of beliefs. This stems from New Thought's impartial view of the mind, absorbing repeated inputs without judgment, as seen in early 20th century texts. Psychologically, self-affirmation theory, developed by Claude Steele in the 1980s, posits that affirmations buffer self-threats by activating brain areas for self-related processing, confirmed by fMRI studies. A mentalhealth.com overview notes neuroscience links where affirmations may rewire neural pathways via neuroplasticity. Critically, while effective for many, a Reddit discussion on psychology highlights that they may backfire for low self-esteem individuals if not authentic. In my analysis, pairing affirmations with action, like repeating "I am capable" while tackling small tasks, enhances efficacy, drawing from CBT. Historical anecdotes, such as Muhammad Ali's self-affirmations before fights, show real-world impact, though correlation isn't causation. In reflecting on these interconnected ideas, we see a tapestry woven from historical movements, psychological research, and personal agency. The key takeaway isn't about commanding the universe, but fostering mindful habits that promote well-being, supported by studies showing reduced stress through present awareness and positive reframing. As you ponder this, consider a gentle invitation. Experiment with one small shift in focus today and observe what unfolds. In doing so, you might discover a quieter strength within, harmonizing mind and experience in ways that feel both profound and accessible.